There's always somebody around the corner talking to you saying, if you was my man and I was your woman. And it's really not true, but it is the trap we fall in because we have a tendency to go to where the claps are. Fatherhood for me is the responsibility of provision and protection, but there's also a responsibility to nurture and connect. I think those last two I learned as I went along, but my natural instinct and might I say the daunting task of providing took up a lot of my life and a lot of my time, and trying to make sure that everything was there and that when you turned on the water, it ran, and that the lights came on, that there was always food in the icebox. Men often get preoccupied and focused on that, not because they're not interested in their children or their wives. It's just that it's not as easy as it looks. And today the roles have changed a little bit. You know, sometimes the woman makes more money than the man. There are situations where the man is at home nurturing and the woman is providing. So there are no stereotypical relationships today like there were when we were raising you all.
What do you think is like one of the most challenging things that you face as a father, whether internally or externally with our, different obstacles?
First of all you have to bring to the table is all you have experienced. Okay. So when my father got sick when I was 10, he died when I was 16. Before he got sick, he was very, very big on building business and work ethic and being relentless and being tenacious, and a lot of that I got from him. So when I start parenting or when I got married, you bring into the relationship whatever your definition of being a father is. And then that adjusts as you go along. The idea of parenting, of fathering a daughter was intimidating for me because I knew what a boy wanted from his father because I had been a boy wanting from my father. I had yet to learn what a girl wants from her father. One, because I've never been a girl, and
Praise the Lord.
Don't plan to be one. But secondly, because that relationship did not act out in the reservoir of my experiences, that father-daughter relationship. And so I had to learn that as I went along.
So, I know now because I'm older what I wanted as a little girl, and I think I understand it now more because it's also kind of what I desire in my relationship with my husband, and I think it's to be seen and to be told how valuable I am and how much I am appreciated. I think that so much of a woman's self-esteem, part of the reason why we build it on whether or not we're married or whether or not someone finds us attractive is because of that validation that comes from a father. Do you know now how much that, affects
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You learn as you go. Kids don't come with manuals. So you learn as you go, you get better at it as it goes along. The other thing that you have to realize about parenting, and particularly we're talking about fathering, but this is also true about women. At the time that you're having children, you're growing too.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me that fathered you.
Right.
It was 30-year-old me.
Wow.
It was your age you that was fathering. Okay? So you gotta understand the time of life you're in when you're still trying to figure out you. And now you've got somebody else to be responsible for, not only emotionally, self-esteem and the things you're talking about, but whatever the school requires, whatever has to be done in their life for the doctor, for the dental visits for the recital, get the instrument, get this done, get that done, got to come up with Christmas, got to come up with Thanksgiving, got to come up with Thanksgiving dinner. All of those are bills to men. See, they're experiences to women, but they're bills to men. So
Put your hand down.
yeah. So Merry Christmas, ho ho, for me is you got to make this happen. You got to buy their gifts and your gifts from them to you. And buy the dinner and sometimes cook the dinner in our case. That's a lot to do in between doing what you do for a living. So all of that is, and let's go back to this. The first victory, no matter how poorly a person provides, emotionally or financially, in your life, the first victory for a man is that he didn't quit. Because most of the people suffering in this room are suffering from a life you knew nothing about. Some of them don't know who their father is. Some of them were abused by their fathers. Some of their fathers ran away, and the child thinks that the father ran from them. But in all likelihood, the father either ran from your mother. No, that's true. He ran from the relationship that was going on with her at the time, or he ran from the pressure of being this iconic individual that was intimidating for this 20-year-old or this 25-year-old individual who is unfinished himself, who is flawed and broken, and the whole family unit is predicated on the fact it has to be a place of unconditional love. It has to be, because God isn't through raising anybody in the house. Anybody in the house. And it's very important that you understand that, because if you don't give that elasticity to a man, he will leave. He will leave for the lack of being understood and being received, because he wants everything you want. Everything you just said that you want, that's everything I want. I want to be seen. I want to be valued. I want to be affirmed. I want to be appreciated. And I want it to happen after work. And so in between all of that, that's everything your mother wants. So everybody wants. So you come home to hunger, tired. So when you come home to hunger, tired, and face criticism, which I didn't, but some men do, it makes you want to flee either back to work or away altogether. To the grieving women in this room who feel like, my father didn't love me, he wasn't there for me, very seldom do men leave their children. They leave their situation, or they leave their spouse, and they don't know how to build a relationship with the child apart from the mother, or the mother won't let them.
So you mentioned elasticity. And
We got somebody hollering something out there.
And we're like, how do you balance not wanting to be like overcritical and nagging or judgmental, but also having legitimate, things that you want to be able to discuss, whether it's in the father relationship or even a relationship with a husband?
With men, timing is everything. Timing is everything. It is not what you say, it's when you say it. Not when I first come in the door. Don't meet me at the door with a bunch of complaints. I'm trying to find some refuge. I'm trying to find some peace. And most men need a cave, a detox spot to refuel from all the things that happened to you at work, where you were often belittled, mistreated, hated on, ostracized, and to survive that and come home and run it. The persons you're doing it for have a list of what you didn't do. It makes you feel unappreciated. And here's where the problem comes in. There's always somebody around the corner talking to you saying, if you was my man and I was your woman. And it's really not true, but it is the trap we fall in because we have a tendency to go to where the claps are, not the criticisms. If you do have something critical to say, pick a time that your emotions are not involved in it. Because you have to understand, men don't, whether in the workplace or at home or in life, we don't communicate like women. We communicate very differently.
That's true.
And so understanding what you mean is a process. Your mother will tell you my famous line with your mother, my famous all-time 37-year-old. There has never been a year in the 37 years we've been married that I didn't say this at least 100 times during the year. What do you mean by that? Because what she said and what I heard are often two completely different things. And the same thing is true in reverse. What I said versus what you hear is two different things. I might say, I don't like your dress, and you might hear, I don't like you. We can compartmentalize one issue from the other and speak about the issue and then wonder why the individual is mad. Because for us, it's about the issue. It's not about the individual. But the woman often feels affronted, A. B, most women grew up without a man, so she wants me to be her girlfriend in pants. She talks to me like she want a girl, and she receives from me like woman communication. Male communication is very different.
Yeah, because like when PT talks to me, I can't hardly take it sometimes. It's like way direct and like, well, what were you thinking when you did that? And then I become defensive and now I have an attitude. And even though I grew up in the house with a man, I think there's something about him saying something that suggests I didn't do it well enough that maybe brings up this little girl who wanted to please her dad. And so now it's not just him saying I didn't do this one thing well. I hear all of these things that I didn't do well throughout our relationship.
Yeah, well, the first mistake is you married your father.
I didn't know that until about 6 months into it, and that's when I realized that they're the same people. I was like, really?
I tell you, it's amazing how much we think alike. Being direct for us isn't always an attack. Let me show you the opposite of it. When a woman comes home to talk to her husband, she says, he wants to know what's for dinner. Well, I left work. I knew we didn't have any green beans. I had to go by the store and get some green beans. The traffic was absolutely everywhere. Do you not know that I had to go to Kroger's where they got green beans, 5 cans for $1, and wait in line? I ran into Helen while I was there, and you know I don't like Helen. And he's sitting there just, you want to take your lip and pull it completely over top of your head? Because all I want to know is, So psychology teaches that women circle around the issue. You circle around the issue. We come down like a helicopter right on the issue.
A machete. I like to call it a machete.
A machete. We're your protectors. But this is it. A direct statement from me doesn't necessarily mean I'm angry at all. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm angry at all. And so when you get angry and defensive, I feel misunderstood. I got a big amen. I heard it come from the front. I feel misunderstood. The three men that are in this room are praying hard for me, okay? So what you have to understand is that I feel misunderstood by just being straightforward with you. And let me say this as it relates to marriage. You can get married in 30, you can have a wedding in 30 minutes, but it takes 30 years to have a marriage. By the time you learn how to read each other, you have raised your children. You have buried your parents. You have been in every conceivable situation together, and you have drawn conclusions. And the reason that this is so difficult, it starts generationally and passes down. You already have the advantage of having some sense how to read a man. You know how you and I can talk across the room and never say a word, okay? I can talk to this girl and never part my lips. We would look at each other and burst out and start laughing and hadn't said a word to each other. That innate instinct is very helpful in reading your husband, even though sometimes you read that he's displeased with you because he criticized something that you did. But it's funny that you would say that about him, because with me, though I am direct, and we've had our moments, look at the way she's looking at me. One of my greatest father-daughter moments with you was after you were started to write, and you wrote me something and sent it to me, and I was in LA at the time, and I was busy, and I was very direct, and I'm embarrassed how direct I was. I tell you, it wasn't good, and I didn't know what you meant. You needed to write it over. I did. When you later wrote the book, I called you. I called you from my desk, and I left a message on your voicemail. And I said I was going to read the book because I've always been their guinea pigs. Anything they cooked, I ate. Anything they wrote, I read. So I said, I'm going to read this book because you're my child. But when I started reading it, it was so well written and so well done, I couldn't put it down. The pace, the rhythm, the truth, the storytelling, the description was impeccable. And then you taught me something. You called me crying. And you said, I want to keep this message forever.
Oh, don't do that.
And you said something to me that I will never forget. You said, because this girl is extremely deep. She's real deep. She said, what gave your compliment so much validity is the criticism that preceded it. The fact that you had the courage to tell me when I was wrong makes me believe you when you tell me I'm right. We're gonna get through this. It's gonna be hard, but we're gonna get through this, okay? That trust is so important, whether it's your partner or your father. You gotta be able to trust that what I'm telling you is true, okay? It might not be nice to hear. It might not, I might have landed like a helicopter, it came down like a machete, but you have to trust, number one, first of all, I am always gonna be for you. So that never comes into play. I am for you when you're right. I am for you when you're wrong. I am for you when I'm hurt. I'm for you when I'm shocked. There's nothing you could ever do that would change the way I feel about you. That is absolutely impossible, period. Take that off the table. And once you settle down into that, and that's what you want to look for in a man, is somebody who can go through tough times, disappointments, mistakes, ride or die. Okay? Admittedly, we all have our weaknesses. Okay? And women often bring up to men their weaknesses. But there is a difference between, first of all, women have weaknesses too. And they are more merciful often about their weaknesses than ours. Because what we want from a woman as a husband, what we want from a woman is for you to love us like you do your sons. Because while you're looking for daddy, I'm looking for mama. And the way you love your sons, I don't care what they do, I don't care when they did it, I don't care which way they went, I don't care what mistake they made, I don't care if they ran the red light, I don't care if they robbed 7-Eleven, mama is still gonna be down there talking about, wait 1 minute, that's my child, you fool. Your husbands, your boyfriends see that, and they long for that, okay? So they long for that kind of love and affirmation. If you can take off the table the fact that whatever I said, I was still for you, then how I said it becomes less powerful when you know that it's one of your teammates saying it. I'm on your team. I'm on Team Jake's, okay? I'm on your team. And the guy sees himself on your team. So when he makes a coaching remark, you can't coach anybody for greatness and just be nice. You can't do that. Not for football, not for basketball, not for golf. A coach is a good coach when they challenge you and they get in your face and they're not trying to say you're not good. I'm trying to get you from good to great. Okay? And a good man has to be strong enough to even withstand being misunderstood, because really most of the time, fathers are appreciated more in death than in life, because when you look back at it, it looks different than in the moment when you're doing it. You understand what I'm saying? So.
I think part of the reason why I have the work ethic I do is because of how you coached me through my teen pregnancy. I'll never forget you telling me you can survive this, but you're going to have to hit the ground running. I think what I know now that I didn't know then was what exactly it was I was trying to survive. And I think that what I thought I was trying to survive was becoming daddy's little girl again, where I could be seen as innocent again and as pure again. And I think when I got pregnant, that coaching kind of translated to me that you were so far from that there was going to take a lot of work for you to get there. So when you talk about...
Hold it. It was never about you being pure or innocent. I assumed you were human when you cried into the world. That was never the issue. That is seldom the issue with men. Your mother says I'm the least judgmental person she ever met. We will give each other slack for days and days and days. When a man says another man's a dog, he's a dog. He's a real bow wow, okay? So he's a real bow wow. It wasn't, the nature of the relationship was not built in my mind on pureness or innocence. It was you.
See, but it wasn't that for me. Because I thought I was like daddy's little girl.
You are.
I know. But I felt like I could do something that would make me lose that.
Never. That's not possible. That's not possible. You could scare me to death. I could be worried to death. You could break my heart. You could do all that kind of stuff. But there's nothing you could ever do that would change how I feel about you. See, knowing this is important because this is the first glimpse into understanding what Jesus meant when he prayed and said, "Our Father." That is an irrevocable relationship the rest of your life. If you're 900 years old, you're still my baby girl. If you got no legs, you're my baby girl. If you're a hoe on the street shooting dope, you're still my child. Don't you ever forget that. Don't you ever, ever forget that. I don't care what. I don't care what. And as long as I'm breathing in this world, I will fight for you. I will come and get you. I will drive the getaway car. I will. Judge me if you want to. I will drive the getaway car. I will be fussing while I'm driving it. I will be calling you names and saying, "This don't make no sense, it's stupid. Are you a fool? What were you thinking about?" But I will be driving the car. That kind of understanding leads us to this. Should we be more temperate? We learn to be more temperate with time and age. But and crushing. And crushing. By the way, I'll be signing crushing after this at the lobby. The crushings of life means you're raising your child at the same time you're raising yourself. Because this is a new role for you as a father. So a lot of your fathers did not do this well because they didn't know how. It's the only role a man often has to play without a script or a blueprint. If he didn't see it demonstrated at home, putting a ring on his finger doesn't make him a husband. Handing him a baby doesn't make him a father. What is that? And then there's nothing worse than having a woman tell you what you ought to be as a man. Because it's like me trying to tell you what you ought to be as a woman. I don't know anything about being a mother. The magic your mother has with you is in another realm altogether. It is mystifying, it is amazing, it is beautiful, it is emotional. I could never be her in 1,000 years. She could never be me. So a lot of times what happens in a relationship, both of you are acting like you know what you're doing and you don't. So you're telling him what a husband ought to be and what a man, if he was any kind of man, you would do so and so and so. Truth is, you don't know what you're talking about. He's telling you what a wife ought to be and what a woman ought to be. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And the humility of admitting that neither one of us are sure is what brings you to your knees and says, "God, help us to do this. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know how to act. There are certain parts of my mother I don't want to see in me. There are certain parts of my father I don't want to see in me. Help to burn out of me the chaff, and so that I am left with the wheat, so that my mother's mouth doesn't get in the conversation or my father's temper doesn't get in the conversation. We got these ghosts. We've all got these ghosts, and those ghosts are relationship killers. Understand this, that in real-time speed, when you confront a man, he very seldom will come right back at you. Because we heard you, but we're going to go away, and 3 days later, we're going to come back. You know, the other day when you said, because we got to go think about it, because when I tell you something, I want it to be sure that that's what it is. So in real-time speed, you'll out-talk me, or I'll clam up. And you'll win the argument, but maybe lose the war. I was explaining to a brother just recently. Often when a woman feels attacked, her weapon is her mouth.
For sure.
So she throws it at you because she feels victimized. Men don't really understand that because we're going to wait 3 days, and when I come back and tell you something, I'm going to be pretty sure. So I take words seriously. So when you start just defending yourself because you see yourself as this little girl being jumped on or not pleasing dad, I take those words to heart because I wouldn't say that to you unless I thought it through. So I don't know that you're still processing out loud. So we got quiet in here. This is why marriage is hard work. Getting father-daughter relationship is easier because sex isn't in it, and it's less complicated. So I'm clear as to what my role is for you, okay? And it is not that. So as long as that part, if a man's been out of your life for years and he wants to get back into your life, the reason it doesn't go well is there's no foundation. What he has to learn to do is not to come into your life after 25 years of being gone and try to be your father. Who is he and what is the nature of his business and who are you on the phone with? No. No, you lost all of that. You've been gone for 25 years. Don't roll back up in here and try to be daddy after being gone 25 years. You've got some foundation to build. Our relationship, my relationship with Cora, my relationship with you, has a foundation up under it. So that even when we face disappointments amongst each other, it might rip up the carpet, but not the foundation. Laying that foundation is a process that takes years. One other point I want to throw in quickly. We tend to raise our same gender children and spoil our different gender children. A man tends to be tougher on a boy because he's trying to get him ready for what it's like to be a man. And you can spoil the girl, and a woman tends to be a little tougher on the girl because she knows how tough it is to be a woman. But her son can get away with murder. So the boy fools the woman all the time. Mama, she just wasn't right. Well, you don't need her nowhere. Come on over here, baby. You don't need her. She doesn't dig down into him, and men need to be digged down into. I need to be confronted. I need what I give. So if I speak to you and say, you need to do this better and that better and that better, and that wasn't good, I want that. I need that. If I trust you like that, that is a privilege of having relationship with me. Is there are few people that I want to receive that from, very few. I can count on my hand and have fingers, but I want to know if I didn't do a good job and what was not good about it and how can I fix it. So when I'm coaching you or I'm into it with you, I'm trying to make sure you win because I don't want them to attack you. I don't want them to attack you. I will jump on Instagram and fight them off with or without scriptures. You understand? Is that helpful? Am I going to?
For sure. Is that helpful? Yeah.